Welcome back, everyone, to the AFB Leadership Talk. I'm so glad that you could all join us for today's very special program. The Leadership Talk series are a series of programs that are brought to you by the AFB Transcend leadership team. And these are straight talking conversations with exceptional individuals who inspire us with a demonstrated roadmap to breaking boundaries in their fields. And these maps are very important for the community that the AFBE serves in order for us to gain insights for leadership transitions in our own careers. Apologies, something just popped up on my screen there and I got a little bit distracted. But my name is Emma Para, which some of you may know, but to anyone who is new, welcome. And today's talk celebrates International Women's Day 2025 with the theme Accelerate Action as we spotlight remarkable women forging incredible paths. We are so honored to be joined today by the amazing Pinky Lilani CBE, who is an author, motivational speaker, food expert, and women's advocate, and also is the founder and chair for several awards that recognize influential women and leaders. This laudable list of achievements includes the annual Women of the Future Awards, which she chairs, and the Asian Women of Achievement Awards, with an exceptional leadership journey that has gone from being a self-taught chef and author to occupying the helm of a global network of women leaders. Pinky was appointed as Officer of the Order of the British Empire in 2007 for services to charity and as Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 2015 for services to women in business. And she continues to lead in recognizing and developing human potential, including being named one of the 100 most powerful women in the UK by BBC Radio 4. She is a fellow of the GSA, patron of the Company of Entrepreneurs Trust, DIL, the Westminster Society, and Frank Water. She's also an associate fellow of the Said Business School and an ambassador for the Tiffany Circle of the Red Cross. And she serves on various boards of Global Diversity Practice and the Character Project at the University of Oxford. As part of her exceptional service to charity, Pinky is also currently a Deputy Lieutenant for Greater London. Welcome to today's talk, Pinky.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today. It's such a joy to be meeting other people and to be part of this conversation.
Thank you so much for making time to be here with us, Pinky. I mean, I've been speaking to you while you've been in the US, and I know that you've come back for quite a lot of work that your projects are, sort of some of the projects that you had in February and March are coming to fruition. So we do appreciate this time taken away from all that busyness to speak to us. And I just want to say that before we start, that I think your superpower is part of what I mentioned in my introduction, which is your ability to recognize and develop human potential. But we'll get to more of that as the talk progresses. But to start us off, I've heard you say of yourself that you came to discover meaning in leadership by finding a way to weave a bit of cookery into that too. So can you just share a little bit about yourself with some of our listeners who are maybe curious about this woman behind all of the accolades?
Thank you so much. Well, it's a great time to be living in the UK. Diversity is high on the agenda, and I can tick all the boxes. I'm a woman. I'm an ethnic minority. I'm a Muslim woman. I'm an older woman, and I'm disabled. And you may wonder in what way I'm disabled. I'm actually profoundly deaf just now. So I wear two very powerful hearing aids. And I tell people this up front because sometimes when they ask me a question, I give a totally doolally answer. Like the time when someone asked me, how long do you take to make a curry? And I heard, how long have you been in the country? So I said, 47 years. And they said, we're not coming to your house for dinner. So I've come here to this country when I met my husband and married him in 2 weeks in India. He had done no due diligence whatsoever. He thought he'd got a good wife who could cook. I'd never been inside the kitchen because we had one of the best chefs in Calcutta. So I came to England not knowing my husband, not knowing how to cook, and knowing absolutely no one. So it's been a very, very interesting journey, landing up doing things I'm doing just now.
It seems like it's been a very interesting journey, coming from one country to another country and just ending up becoming one of the top 100 powerful women in the UK. So that's, when you say interesting journey, I can tell that there's quite a lot of context that's woven into that. But I mean, your career has been one that demonstrates the strong power of interaction. You set up the Women of the Future Awards, recognizing aspirational women under 35 in 2006. And then you set up, networks, your school program, your ambassador program. You even set up your kindness in leadership. I think that it's important for everyone to know that Pinky believes kindness lies at the heart of what we do. Pinky, do you want to explain what that means, especially in your leadership journey?
Yeah, I have a mantra, and my mantra is about kindness. It says, you have not lived a perfect day unless you've done something for someone who can never repay you. And I think kindness is something all of us can do. We don't need money, we don't need skills, we don't need education. Anybody can be kind, and that changes the world. And I'd just like to mention a program you didn't mention, which was the first program I started, which was the Asian Women of Achievement Awards, which I set up in 1999 because I wanted to recognize Asian women because in the country, Asian women weren't recognized. So I thought I would set this up. And one of the reasons was whenever I met an Asian person, they tell me, do you walk 2 steps behind your husband? And I said, no, I walk 10 steps behind him so he doesn't know what I'm getting up to. So I decided to set up the Asian Women of Achievement Award in 1999. And I had a few people help me. I would walk the streets of London, stopping people saying, you're Asian, will you enter my awards? And then everybody told me you should invite the Prime Minister's wife to come to the awards dinner. It was a black tie dinner at the Grosvenor House in London. And I said, how do you invite the Prime Minister's wife? Anyway, I got in touch with number 10 and said, will Mrs. Blair come to our awards? And, my wonderful surprise, they said she will. So I asked the next question. They say the only thing you get for in life without asking is an infectious disease. Everything else you have to ask for. So I said, will she wear an Indian outfit? And they said, she doesn't have any. So I said, well, I can bring some. They said, okay, will you come to Downing Street with the outfit? That was my first trip to Downing Street in 1999, where I took these outfits. She wore one of them. She came to our awards. She became our patron. And in 2006, when I decided to set up the Women of the Future Awards, I remember emailing Cherie at like midnight and saying, Cherie, I want to set up the Women of the Future Awards for women under 35 from all backgrounds. Will you support me? And in 5 minutes, she came back and said, of course I will. That's when I set it up. So the journey has been really interesting. It's been expanding. And the one thing, again, that I set up, which we never had, which was 3 years ago, was our first global program, which is to recognize women under 35 who work in ESG. So we publish a list of 50 rising stars in ESG every year too. So that's the journey so far.
I I'm still chuckling at the proverb about what you should ask people in order not to get an infectious disease. But no, this is incredible. I honestly love how you 23 years ago, obviously quite new in the country, so to speak, but you decided to recognize role models and battle stereotypes about Asian women and trying to give them a different representation in society. You said yourself that you would walk around the streets of London interacting with people. That shows a love of connection and bringing that love of connection into what you do. And you have been spotlighting these women from then, even with so little resources, because I can't imagine how all of these amazing just achievements have come out of the little that you had. So I guess what I'm trying to find out from you is, what were your challenges with trying to break down silos? I mean, it's wonderful that you were able to write it down in the streets and just get a yes. But what sort of examples can you share with us of where you had to break down those silos in order to collaborate and move through cultures to find common ground?
I think the challenges were we set up in the first year, there were about 8 categories of the award, and the challenges were to find people for every category. Also, in terms of I needed sponsorship, I needed corporates to give money so that I could employ a few people and we could run the awards. And whenever you have these black tie affairs at five-star hotels, they cost a lot of money. Challenges were that how do you go and ask people? How do you knock on doors? How do you find the right people to help you? And with everything in life, yeah, some doors open, some doors close. But the real factor has to be one should never give up. One should keep trying. And I always find whenever you knock and you don't have answers, ask someone else. So what I would like to say is everyone should build a community in their life that can help them on the journey. If I've done anything right, it's because so many people have helped me. And after the first year, I thought, oh my God, it was so much of work, and how will I do it again? And then somebody told me, look, I'll introduce you to an event organizing company, and they can help you. And so I went to them. And so the next year we used them to help us set it up. And that's how we've grown.
That's incredible. I mean, there's a lot of resilience here on the journey. There's a lot of positivity as well, just being able to see the potential for people to actually support you in what you're doing. That is amazing. So what has shaped your values and beliefs? Because I've heard you talk about your values being those of integrity and humility and compassion and empathy. And I have to say, Pinky, being a leader, especially when you've had to fight to get to a certain level of recognition, it does erase some of that in the just the way that we approach our day to day or even just our environments. And I will speak honestly, being a leader in a country I'm speaking for myself now, where I'm not originally an indigene of. So how have you been able to keep reshaping your values in spite of that?
I always tell people within about 3 minutes of meeting someone, I decide, do I like them? Do they have the values? And for me, values that are important, you mentioned it, because I mentioned you last time to me kindness, humility, integrity, compassion, and you can be clever, but I hate people who are arrogant. I hate people who are self-promoters. So very quickly, I build my life like that. So somebody may come and say, oh, I can sponsor this for you, I can give you all this money, but they're all about self-promotion. So I'll stay away. I won't badmouth them, but I will stay away. And I think with my life, I always tell stories because that is what, if you're looking for strategy and tactics, you can look at any book, you can read the Harvard Business Review, everything. But storytelling is important. And one of the stories I'd like to share is that, how do we build our own reputation, our credibility is very important. And that's what people remember. So if you're associated with good brands, you have to be a good brand yourself. And to me, that's really important. So I'm the kind of person who will just try everything. And if I fail, I'll let people know. I won't pretend to be successful all the time because I didn't know how to cook when I came here. And my first job was actually, I love having people over. So I learned to cook. I used to go back to Calcutta where my cook would teach me, and I would just invite people and say, come and eat at my house. And somebody said, you cook really well. My first job was teaching cookery in adult education. Once a week, £11 an hour. So they'd pay me £22. It was my first job. And after I did my first job, everybody said, why don't you write a cookery book? I had no idea, to find a publisher. So I decided to publish my own first cookery book. And I remember I had all these books delivered. I paid for it, self-published. And then after selling 10 to people I knew, I rang up the bookstores and said, will you stock my book, Spice Magic? And they said, are you a celebrity? Are you on television? No, so nobody wanted it. So you have to be creative. So I came up, I said, how can I get people to stock my book? So then I had this idea that I can take my electric walk and make a recipe from the book somewhere. So I rang up several bookstores and said, if I bring my electric wok and cook spicy Bombay potatoes in 5 minutes, will you let me sell my book? After eight of them saying no, one felt sorry for me and said, okay. So I went in with my electric wok, made spicy Bombay potatoes in 5 minutes, had my book, and people just loved it. They hadn't tasted garlic and cumin and chili in potatoes. And it was a great success. So I started traveling all around the country, I've been everywhere with my walk, my Indian spice box. And now, can I just tell you one thing? I extended that over the years where I talk on leadership, but even when I'm talking about leadership in the big companies, I say, can I bring my walk? And they said, who brings walks into leadership talks? I said, no, please. And so the walk has been to Oxford, Cambridge, London Business School, the Bank of England, and 100 corporates, and also Radio 4. So if I can do it, the reason I tell the story is if I can do it, anyone can. And I'll tell you very quickly, because this is an important story for me. About 10 years ago, my younger son told me, I want to do an MBA and I want to go to Oxford. So I said, great idea. Being an Indian mother, I said, yes, yes, you must. So when he went to look, I said, I'm coming with you. So he went round, and then I went inside the office and said, what do you guys do for women? So they said, what do you do? They looked at this middle-aged Indian woman and said, what do you do? And I told them, well, he got into his MBA program. I was so relieved. They called me up a week later and said, would I be the keynote speaker on the first day of term to the women and women's alumni for the MBA program? Of course, I said yes. I said, can I bring my potatoes? And I told my son, I'm giving the first talk at your MBA program for women. Don't tell them, because if I make a mess, nobody will go out with you. But he actually married one of them. So that's my story of how we journeyed and brought me to where I am.
That's amazing that, first of all, the walk has actually been in so many rooms that a few of us are quite envious of. And that is incredible as well. Just the bravery and the courage to knock on doors and ask people, well, what's a good reason for me not being able to be let into this particular space? I think that you have an amazing attitude towards leadership and where it is that you see yourself, how you view yourself. Can I ask if at all that was challenged? Because obviously you of Asian descent, and just in terms of background and the perception of women, where it is that some of us may come from. And that perception carries on into Western spaces, doesn't it? Where, there's still a lack of diversity, which you've seen yourself, which we've all seen. How did you have to knock down those barriers so that you were treated in the way that you deserved rather than being prejudged by your sex and the expectation of what that means?
I don't know whether I never felt I was discriminated against. I never felt that because, nobody I felt treated me differently because I was Asian, I was Muslim, I was a woman. I just felt they treated me the way I deserved to be treated. And, I guess I came from a background where, I'd been used to getting things my way. And of course, there were times when things you wanted something to work and didn't. But I always then went somewhere else. So I never personally felt discriminated against because I would have all kinds of people in my life. And, there was always someone that I could turn to who would help me on the journey. So I never felt people say, where did you get your confidence? Didn't you ever feel intimidated? No, I didn't feel intimidated. Maybe that was me. I just didn't feel intimidated or feel somebody's treating me badly because I'm Indian.
And I think from what you're saying, it sounds like we just always need to keep looking around us to see who it is that's immediately available to help. Because sometimes there is a temptation to want help from everywhere when help can come from one place that is the more important source of help. It's so proximate to you that you can rely on it more immediately while, you keep trying to push through other barriers. And I think that's definitely something that we all need to just be reminded of. So Pinky, On the subject of leadership, and just before I go to the next question, I just want to remind the audience that you are welcome to put questions into the chat section of this talk, and we will pick them up quite soon to put them to Pinky. But my question was about the 7 Qs. Now, I've heard you give a very interesting discussion about the 7 Qs of leadership, so to speak, but they're basically the IQ, the EQ, the AQ, the CQ, LQ, and KQ. Of all of this, I just couldn't remember what the CQ was, but I have a grasp on the other ones. But would you like to just share with our audience what you believe these quotients are and why they are relevant for leaders?
The reason I developed this is so many people go on leadership courses and they look for ways that are accessible, easy ways of developing leadership. So IQ and EQ, we all know. With the AQ, I used to call that attitude quotient because your attitude is important. If you go in thinking, I deserve to be recognized, I'm the best, your attitude is, you know it all. I have actually added authenticity to that because being
Oh,
authentic is
attitude.
so important. So attitude and authentic. And the CQ I used to call communication quotient because we love people who are great communicators. We like people to be articulate, to be caring, to be passionate, to be compassionate. But I changed the CQ recently to courage and curiosity because even at my age, I'm always curious to learn. I don't feel I know it all. So curiosity and courage is so very important. And the other Q that I love is the LQ. That's the likability quotient. You know, when who would the people be like? Be like people who care, who are interested, who are resilient, who are courageous, who've got compassion. And there's a lovely story of Winston Churchill. His mother, apparently, Jenny Jerome, was very well known. And before Disraeli and they were standing for election, she went out with the two people standing as prime minister for election. And they asked her what she felt about having gone out for dinner with them. And she said, with one of them, she came away thinking she was the most important person in the world. With the other one, she came back thinking that he was the most important. He didn't make her feel good. So being likable is giving other people importance. And KQ is so important, the kindness quotient, because I think kindness is the biggest skill everybody has, and we should all use that. So, you know, the 7 Qs success are a great way of being on your journey.
And those are very important to imbibe. I've definitely been sort of thinking more about that attitude quotient, but I love the fact that you've redefined it as authenticity because obviously your life journey shows that that played a lot in, it was a great factor in letting people see you for who you are rather than a perception of what they expect an Asian woman to be. Now,
Absolutely. Can I just tell you one thing? People tell me how come, because my mantra is you have not lived a perfect day unless you've done something for someone who can never repay you. They ask me, how can I do that every day? Well, every day I go with 5 chocolate gold coins in my handbag and I give them to somebody. So I go on the train, I'll talk to everyone. Sometimes you give a little chocolate and somebody turns up their nose and says, I don't like chocolate. So I don't feel bad about that. I find somebody else to give it. So we can all do that, and that enriches you, energizes you, gives you hope. So I would tell you all to do, even paying a compliment to someone would be so easy to do. We just need to make sure it becomes part of our everyday life.
as opposed to just performing a certain role of seeming to be kind. No, that's if somebody was handing me chocolates on the street, I may be a little suspicious, but I think the little chocolate fiend in me will definitely, yeah, after the second ask, yeah, definitely grab one, take it with me. That's incredible. And just going to what it is that you said about kindness and just doing little things for people. I mean, just bearing in mind that our call to action in this year's IWD celebration is accelerating action. You talk about taking little things and making them big. However, there is a rate of progress that's obviously lagging, especially in the space where you are advocating for diversity and representation. So what are the concerns and what might even frustrate you about this current rate of action?
I think it's really motivating people, inspiring people, making them see how much it enriches and engages and really empowers people to actually be better, do the things they really believe in, and not be put off that, you can't get success at every stage. Sometimes it's accumulate, sometimes it comes much later. Like when we run our ambassadors program, I set that up because I was meeting amazing women we were recognizing for the awards, and I never gave up on them. So even the person who won our award in 1999, and we're still in touch with her. And most people say after they've got an award, nobody remembers them after 2 years. But we are set up the ambassadors program where we have 6 formers to meet our incredible women. So last week we had 100 of them. We had 100.
We will be back to regularly scheduled programming in, I'm sure, a minute or so. Oh, apologies. It does seem like Pinky's connection has cut off, but please be patient. She will rejoin us shortly. And there she is, less than a minute.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
It's
Look,
technology.
that's technology and my lack of. So going back to the ambassadors program where we had 106 formers coming to meet 100 women of achievement, we had it at Lord's Cricket Ground, and it was absolutely inspirational. And it's hard to do those kind of things, but everybody, one of the girls, about 2 months ago, I was on the train and I talked to everyone. And this girl told me she was 18. And I said, "We've got this program on. Would you like to come with your school?" And she'd got in touch with me and she came with her school. So when they asked her, how did you come here? She said, "I met Pinky on a train." So I think, you have to try different ways of doing things. And that with leadership, do something new, do something you've never done. Don't just follow principles that have been proven because they may not work for you. And you know, we all fail. I'm, I'm one of we all have things we just don't know that happened to me.
Sorry,
Can you
Pinky. I
hear
think
me?
it was the end. There was a buffering with the sound, but no, it's clear now. And
Okay.
what I was going to say is, I you sound like you have an amazing amount of energy because I don't. There is so much that you are doing, but you leave yourself open to even receiving and recognizing the potential of the person that you meet on a train or even, someone who you were introduced to at some events. And even the concept of staying in touch with all of these people who have been previous recipients of your award. So I suppose my own question to you is how do you stay recharged? Like how do you keep that energy flowing? Because I can only imagine that battery gets drained from everything else that you have to carry, even as a mother and a grandma. How do you do that?
I just keep trying and I think of something new to do which I've never done. And I think that's what gives me hope in life is that I can do something I've never done. If I just repeat all the stuff, I'm bored with it. So I really need to. And I love meeting new people because everyone new you meet, whatever level they are, I'm not running after people who are CEOs of companies or whatever. I think the way you respect everyone, not just the people on top. Some people are very nice to high flying people and they won't talk to people who they think are less than that, or they'll just suck up. I hate big sucker uppers because that's not my forte. And the other thing is I do, which a lot of people think is weird, I invite people to my home. So all the nominees, the
You're a
shortlisted
trusting
from our
woman.
awards, There's 50, there's 50 of them each year, and I invite the entire lot 3 weeks after the awards. They come to my house for lunch. You never, and 30, 40 will turn up. I said, never invite me back. Just meet people, do what you can, and that is it. I know everybody's not going to be able to cook a meal for 30, but I do it. And then I hope it all tastes good and there's enough wine. If it doesn't, they can have some wine. But I think it's really it's about doing things that will set you. How do you have your own brand? We talk about brands.
Mm.
So be yourself, the best version of yourself. Have passion, have grace, have learning ability, be resilient.
And this really ties into what I've heard you say about leaders, that leaders should always do more without people asking. So the demand is, fine, you did a great job yesterday, but go out there and do something else. And nobody has asked you for, but you know it's just going to improve the quality or just the experience of someone else. And that's an amazing quotient even to just carry along with us. So speaking of leaders, because the last time that we spoke, Pinky, you were in the US and you were renowned for your pioneering in just inclusion, being an advocate for gender equality and diversity. And obviously, there are certain near-term challenges that the world is observing, especially in that part of the world, so to speak. What are your thoughts around these challenges now for leadership, especially with the representation that is required in leadership?
I think we must, obviously, there's so many challenges. Things have changed so much. When I was in the US, there were several people I met who had lost their job because they were affected. And I think whatever happens, everything in life, being older than all of you by so much, I've seen how people go up and people come down. So nothing just goes like this. It's not going to go like this. And so it is for everything that's being a challenge now, something else will come out, but we have to believe in our values and we have to have a community around us. And that's why, for all the people who are hearing today, build a community around you because what will give you hope and inspiration and tenacity is the people in your life, not just very famous people who you will never meet and do what you want. But it's that resilience, that energy, and that belief things will go wrong. We all have challenges. But as we say, inshallah, something good will come out from every bad thing that happens in life. Something good comes out. So I never give up because if you're going to give up, then there's no point in living. You know, we have to have hope. We have to have belief. We've seen that over hundreds of years. And one of the things I'll never forget is my grandfather was a pretty well-known person in India where I grew up, and kindness goes back there. When I was doing some work with one of my clients who was in the food development business, and she said she wanted to go and eat at different places. So I took her to this Burmese restaurant. It would be called Myanmar now, but I said, let's go and have some Burmese food because we used to eat Burmese food in Calcutta because it was right near during the war. A lot of people come. So when I went inside this restaurant, there were just 7 tables, and the owner was going around talking to everybody. And he came to me. I was with a client, and he said, where are you from? And I said, he wanted to know, and I said, I'm from Calcutta. And he said, I'm alive today because I escaped during the Second World War with my family from Rangoon to Calcutta, and I was going to be killed. But this man saved my life, and he was he was from the Ismaili community. So I said, I'm an Ismaili, and it's a small community. Maybe we would know their family. So he said his name was Khan Bahadur Dasani, and he was so kind. He saved my life 50 years ago, whatever. And I said, that is my grandfather.
Oh, wow.
So the person who saved his life was my grandfather. And it's the same person when Her Majesty the Queen went to Calcutta. There's a wonderful picture of my grandfather being presented to her and the Duke of Edinburgh. So, it was a journey that he was, and this person, like so many years down the line, the only thing he remembered about Calcutta was his life being saved because of kindness. So,
That's
we can all be kind.
Yeah, well, I can think of a few people that we can tell in the country that we just spoke about. about kindness. But no, no, that's something that every one of us well, we need to learn daily, constantly. And that's a profound experience as well. I can imagine for you, just knowing that one man's kindness has led to another man being able to see generations of his in the future. That's amazing. I was going to ask you about the passion that you have for the young generation because you're so full of hope and you believe in their ability to do so much. But there's so many of them that really don't see that much further in front of them, especially, this is a generation that survived COVID. They just keep seeing the doom and the gloom and the wars and the destruction and all of that. And they may not have the courage often to come out of their comfort zones. How do you advise people on this call who are starting out in their careers, or even people who have felt a little bit hemmed in by their fears? How do you advise them to put trust in themselves and give them hope to sort of experience life differently?
I'd say, be the best version of yourself. Pursue your passions. There will be things that will not work. And for all of us, I've had so many. But after 10 doors close, one door will open. So don't give up. And for young people, today somebody was telling me how young people are always online. Then they go out to an interactive session. They're still looking at their phones and they're not really going and talking to people. They feel shy. And I think really one of the best pieces of advice I can give you, what helped me more in my journey, is having a community around me that helped me and that I help. Because if you're only going to be focused on what you want, that's no good. It's very important to help others because in helping others, you help yourself. So I think you never give up on something different. We all have so many, we now have the capacity to actually learn something new all the time. There's Duolingo now, so you can learn a language. You can learn, so many things on internet, but use that also to build relationships. Relationship building is incredible, and we must do that. And don't ever feel bad if you lose, because there's somewhere. Keep going down the line. Never give up.
Relationship building. I enjoy the idea of going to learn a language just so that I can randomly bump into someone who speaks that language and just start a conversation that they didn't expect was going to happen that day. But speaking about relationship, who was it that you would look back upon your journey and say, yes, this person held a significant door open for me, and that I learned a lesson from them? Because I've heard you say that you want to learn and you want to learn how to open doors. Who showed that to you?
I think a lot of people did. It goes back to my family where my parents lived that kind of life. So it began then. And so my siblings too, they live in the US. They're both really successful at what they do. But it was also the life we lived in India. In India it's quite a different life. You have people all the time to your house. People keep coming. They keep eating. They do all those kind of things. We have help in the house here. I mean, we have to do our own work. But all those people, that's what they did that, and that gave me the inspiration. It wasn't just one person. When people say, if you could come back to one person, who would that be? I would find that difficult. I wouldn't think that would be the thing that would, it's different how different people get inspired. Now, one thing you may have heard of is a BBC, a Radio 4 program called Desert Island Disc, which is very well known, but I didn't realize how big it was till somebody one day had met me and she said, I want you to meet my PR expert and whatever. So I had a meeting with her, and after the PR expert met me just for fun to have a coffee. She said, I think you should be on Desert Island Test. I know what? So she said, I'm going to go and try to get you. She said, I've tried my clients, it never worked. 3 days later, she called me up and said, I told them about you and they'd like to meet you. So I was on Desert Island Test. And so I had and so when people announce, when they introduce me, she's been on Desert Islanders, suddenly I find some people take me more seriously before they think, oh, she's rubbish, whatever she is. When they hear that, they kind of give you a little bit more importance. So, the journey is very important. So I can't say that there's one person who's inspired me. It's come from so many different sections, different parts of my life have been inspired.
And yeah, the journey is really where the focus should always be, because in the same way we leave our mark and we wouldn't want to be the focus of what it is that people look back on. They rather want to live in the experience that we've left them with. I'm going to go to questions from the audience, conscious of our time. So the first question here is, hi, Pinky. Thank you very much for sharing your reflections. You have been very active in elevating minority voices for a very long time, especially at a point where this may not have been supported widely. What are your reflections on how things have changed, either for better or worse? And what would your advice be for those of us who are keen on moving the dial in this space, especially around driving and sustaining support from others? I take it
I
this person is
think,
speaking about DEI support.
well, obviously DEI is under threat just now, as we've seen.
Mhm.
I don't think, while 25 years ago, I never thought that we'd need the Asian Women of Achievement Award, that Asians would have made everything they needed. Everyone needs support. Women still haven't got where they should be. When you look at boards of companies, when you look at, it's male who are dominating. When there's a job, apparently, if a woman has 80% of the qualities, she'd say, I won't apply because I don't have 20. A man who has 50% will apply, apparently. And then again, it's what we do. Somebody was telling me today, she said she found the men always promoting each other, but the women don't do that. So I think we have to promote people. When you look at boards of companies, also often people say there aren't enough women. And it's the same women who are all on these big boards. We need new people. So we
Mm,
need others who will actually be vital to opening doors for others. And so therefore, I think while we've made progress, I still think there's so much to be done. And so many women just are not doing enough to promote others or being promoted. And they have to look at ways they can really promote themselves and promote. When you promote yourself, doesn't mean, I hate people who oversell themselves. It's like just saying things you do well and you believe it. Where some people come along and pretend they know everything and they don't. Very quickly we pick that up. So I think there's still a very long journey. And women, so many women say how they have children and then they're challenged. What was very interesting, I had a meeting with people from South Korea, and the women there said they work in the corporate world, but they were told, if you get married or have a child, please don't work anymore. So a lot of them, the birth rate in South Korea is really
it's
low because a
plummeted.
lot of
Yeah.
women don't want to. So there's still so much to be done. We can't give up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's the culture, isn't it? There's a workplace culture about self aggrandization and just making sure that you are the loudest voice in the room. And unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, women have to work in those spaces, and they learn from the culture that is there, and they are yeah, pulled into the behaviors that they meet. And it's very hard to break out, isn't it? To sort of be the odd man out in the way that other people behave. But yeah, what you said earlier on about authenticity is probably what it is that we need to just keep focusing more on. I'm going to go to the next question about how women can cultivate influence in their careers, especially in male-dominated industries.
I think that a lot of people face that as a challenge, but don't give up. Find okay. A lot of people find it very helpful if they have a mentor or a coach or somebody who guides them. Have someone you can always ask for advice. So when you're having a challenge because you feel you're being discriminated because of who you are, ask someone else for help. That's so important because they'll give you ideas. Everyone gives you a different idea. And so just now I'm actually looking quite desperately for something I need done. And I've like asked all kinds of people. I still haven't got the answer I want, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to carry on. And so I think that's what women need to do is have people around them they can consult, men and women. It's very important, people who believe in you. And there are some senior people who say, who never have the time. Sometimes you WhatsApp someone, they don't even get back to you. But there will always be someone somewhere who can help you. And that's all I can say is that I'm constantly, if I do get this, I'll be so happy, but I may not. But I don't want it to depress me if I don't get it, because I'm the kind of person, I'm a worrier. So I really worry all the time. Whereas I'm married to someone who is not a worrier at all. And so therefore it was very, very good for us to be married. Hello, can you see me? So I
Yeah, we
think
can see
that's
it
what,
very well.
we need to have enough people in our lives who can inspire us and help us on the journey.
I wouldn't have thought you were a warrior at all, Pinky. You gave
I,
me
I
the
am the
very
biggest,
opposite
I,
impression.
no, no, I'm such a worrier. Everybody, my kids have given up. I'm always worrying that, this would happen, that would happen. So we all have our challenges. And my biggest challenge, I can't hear. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I have a lot of things that really hold me back, but I try to be as positive as possible.
And I have heard you talk about putting trust as the biggest quality that a leader can have, and having trust in other people's judgment as being, you really have to let go of your desire to make decisions for others and trust that they will make the right decisions either for you or for the cause. So yeah, I can definitely see that playing out. With the next question, you are being asked for one piece of advice to a younger woman of color trying to navigate the world. So, what would you say to that person, and how have you managed your mental health while balancing such impactful work?
I'd say believe in yourself. Find out be the best version of yourself. Don't try to be something because everybody else says those qualities are good. Be what you're good at. As I said again, it's very important to have people in your life who will help you on the journey.
Mhm.
And even if one things don't work, never, never give up. I mean, that is absolutely paramount. One thing I'd like to just say is one of the things that I'll mention this because we didn't, is about 2 years ago, passed, I almost went to the other side of the world because I had been out for dinner. I'd in fact been to Lord's Cricket Ground, watched cricket with Theresa May in a box. Then I went to the hotel for dinner, came home, and my husband drove into the driveway. And I got out of the car, and he went to park the car. When he came out, 2 minutes later, I was lying unconscious on the driveway, bleeding from the side of my. And he got an ambulance, and for a whole week, I was in and out of consciousness. And they didn't know whether I would make it or there was damage. And I was there for 5 weeks. And everyone, I survived to tell the tale, but I was just, what inspired me and gave me hope was other people's belief in me. And everybody said, you must write your story. So I decided that I would write my memoirs, but I didn't have. I've done 3 books, but I couldn't. So I got someone to write my memoirs, and it's called some kind of wonderful. But I self-published. So I'm actually Royal Highness the Duchess of Edinburgh, who's my global ambassador, and said, "Would you write a few words about Pinky?" And she wrote 1.5 pages. And so the foreword of my book is by Her Royal Highness. So I'm very, very lucky. So it's all a journey. It's nothing to do with me. It's about what's there in the universe for us.
I think there is some part of you in there, I think. I don't think Her Royal Highness will be writing forwards for everyone. So there is some part of you that's that. But
But
that's incredible. That's amazing. Yeah, you've obviously just continued to work outside of yourself, and that continues to be recognized, and that's a very key lesson for so many of us. I'm just going to take the last question from the chat, which is, well, first of all, the person says, "Thank you, Pinky, for sharing your time and insights with us today. Your work is truly inspiring. You have worked with some of the most influential women in the world. What is one common trait that you have observed in women who break barriers and achieve extraordinary success?"
I think they're interested in others. They have a great interest in something bigger than themselves, and they feel they can make a difference. We all want to be world changers, game changers.
You.
And I think that's important, is that somebody should be interested in something beyond their own immediate family and just money. And, everything has a price. So the people that inspire me are those that have the values that I look for. They're kind, they have integrity, they have trust, and that is what is paramount. And I would say that that's what inspires me about someone taking interest in others, not just themselves. So I feel if I can, the reason I tell the stories is I always say if I can do it, anyone can. And I mean that. I'm not just saying it because I didn't come with any particular gift that, I brought along with me. I just got up there and was there myself. But I'm so honored to be asked today, and you've been so warm. You had such energy, and you've enriched me today.
Well, I mean, for someone who set up all of these amazing achievements and awards, you were clearly more interested in other people. And I'm not saying this just to like sort of gas you up, as the youngsters would say. That's not my generation at all. But no, clearly you've represented what it means to show interest in others and how that can actually just further your own career in a place where you suddenly become a luminary leader yourself without even planning to be, which I think is incredible. So, Pinky, as we draw to the end of this, I've taken so many good quotes from your previous conversations with other speakers, but one of my best quotes is that I'm going to say it in your voice. I'm having such a good time. Why would I want to retire? Because I still need to change the world. You may not remember having said this, but I just found that so interesting. And I think that's one of your other superpowers, the ability to continue to demonstrate a genuine interest in doing something else, doing something new. So, what is next for you on your journey?
One quote I'd just like to also end with is by it's called "Sell your cleverness, buy your bewilderment." And that is so important. It was written by Rumi. One of my favorite authors in the world is Elif Shafak, and she's written a book. If anybody wants some wisdom, is to read a book called 40 Rules of Love. And read that. That's, in fact, I love it so much that I've given it to 350 people. So every time I have to give someone a gift, I give them, when I meet them, and I say, don't buy it, I'll sell. So you were saying, what is my journey? I just want to carry on working for as long as I can, because that gives me hope, that gives me, I meet interesting people, I learn. If you give up working and you sit at home and watch TV and eat your food, it works for some people. I'm not passing judgment, but it's not my activity. So I just have to be the best version of myself, meeting new people, learning, and carrying on the work. And I hope I do, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, what's next? What's
Well,
next
it's
for you?
really well, this year we have to keep with all the changes going on. I want to make sure that our ESG program, our kindness program, our summit, we've got a summit on March 20th. We're very lucky. Julia Gillard, the ex-former Prime Minister of Australia, is speaking. And so it's to get everything done, to get the sponsorship, that's important because I need that. So the journey continues, and I really hope maybe I'll write a book about the 7 Qs of success.
Oh, please do, because that definitely needs to be in the business world rather than the 40 laws of power, or how many of the laws they are. Well, this has been
No, thank you.
incredible. I was going to ask you about Spice Magic, but I don't know if there's any resource that you want to leave with the people so that they can go and find out what you're doing and where it is that they can find you on the different channels.
If they look at yeah, is that and yeah, they can actually look at Women of the Future and look at my website and look at Wikipedia.
So, Women of the Future.
Yeah, Women of the Future has everything that I'm doing, and if they want to buy a copy of my book, Some Kind of Wonderful, and if anybody wants to ever email me, it's pinky@spicemagic.com.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a few emails landing in your inbox not long after this talk. This has been an incredible time. I feel like we've only barely scratched the surface with you, because you are so humble about the things that you've achieved, but we've barely unwrapped them. But thank you so much. There's been a call to action, I think, for women in particular, given that this is international a talk for International Women's Day, and the way that we imagine progress might be simpler and just more graceful than what it is that we've been led to imagine before now. So yeah, trusting our judgment, building community, I think, is a massive one for myself. and making sure that I keep those cues in mind when I think about how my journey can keep accelerating. Before we go, and before we say our final goodbyes to Pinky and to everyone else, I just want to thank everyone for joining this call. And I just want to also share that we have an advance invitation to next month's leadership talk, which is on Wednesday, the 2nd of April, where we will continue to accelerate action with our special guest, Bolaji Sofoluwe, who is a business growth strategist, founder, and leader. We are also looking forward to our prestigious gala, which is happening this year. And I just want to invite Mupe, who is the gala committee planning lead, to just give a brief couple of minutes of an update on this exciting event. Mupe, are you on?
I am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pinky. That was amazing. I'm definitely getting the Seven Cues book because it does sound very interesting. Thank you so much, Emma. I'm just gonna give you a snippet just in case you didn't attend. The gala's coming up November 6th, and they're just going to be sharing the screen of the gala just for a minute. It's not going to be up to 6 minutes, just to give you a taster of what you would experience in November. And then I'll sort of go through very quickly on the main things you need to know about the event. Does that sound?
Pretty pictures.
Oh, you'll need to press the button on share and reshare with the share sound.
Today was a talk about the technical aspects of doing this.
It only happens all the time. While she is resharing, it's happening November 6th here in Aberdeen, P&J Live. Okay. Don't worry, you can imagine it with the beautiful pictures in the background. So last 2 years, 2023, we had 500 people. This year, we're going to be having 800 people. And it's really an amazing night to celebrate. I mean, we have Pinky here right now. There are also people like Pinky. There are people doing amazing things in the STEM space, mentors, companies, people who are helping the next generation, really. So it's a night of celebrating people in excellence and innovation, diversity. And this is the brochure for nominations. This year, we're going to be having 7 categories for people to nominate from. So there's going to be the STEM Champion of the Year. There's going to be the Young BME. If you just scroll down a little bit, yes, thank you. We're going to be having the Mentor of the Year, the BME Leader of the Year, which is a very good one, Company of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Ethnicity ERG of the Year. So all of these are open for nomination. Nominations have opened. It's on the website, www.afbawards. It's going to be popped into the chat now. So as much as getting your tickets, those are the tickets over there. Those are the tickets over there. If you go on right now, to nominate someone, because each and every one of us know someone. We know a good mentor, someone who has helped us, someone who is great, is a great BME Professional of the Year, young BME, who's just started their career, doing amazing things. All of the criteria are on there. And speaking on tickets, we're having the early bird, which ends 31st of March. So please, 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 if you're a student, if you're a young professional, if you're a member, if you're a non-member, it's important that you get your tickets, because it's an amazing night, not just to network. I know networking is good, it's important, but just to see what's happening outside your space. And again, with the theme, accelerate, go on into action. And when we see other people doing stuff, we then take that, step to go out, move out, and do our own stuff. The theme of the year is impact. So it's actually tapestry of impact. It's really the impact each and every one of us make and how it becomes something bigger than ourselves. So that's a little bit about the gala. I hope to see everyone on the call. I know there are about 28 people here, but tell people, share it as well. If you're not following us on social media channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, please follow us because we'll be posting updates on there. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. This has been another incredible edition of the AFB Leadership Talk. We just want to say a special thank you again to Pinky. Thank you for honoring us with your time. And we do appreciate that this is a fasting period. So we will let you go. And I just want to encourage everyone to follow Pinky's work, the Women of the Future Awards. Send her an email. She's very, very open to inviting people over for dinner. So it might be me next, who knows? But we just want to appreciate you again, and hopefully we will have you back. For everyone else, follow the AFB on all of our channels just to stay updated with what we're doing and where we're going next. And we will see you next month.